Welcome to Tamer Bowling Video Ball Reviews. Hey Tamer Bowling fans, we are now on Patreon. For exclusive content, please join us at patreon.com/tamerbowling. Today we're testing the new Ebonite Choice. We're testing on a medium 40-foot house shot and the NCAA 2 38-foot sport shot. First impressions of the Ebonite Choice, it's very aggressive, it's a snow tire-like ball, loads and loads of mid-lane. For value, we gave the Ebonite Choice a C+. The Choice is a high-end ball with an aggressive cover and aggressive core. It felt so big, I'm not sure how often it'll come into play. For sport, sure. For house, not sure. Overall, on a house shot we gave it a C, and on sport we gave it a B+. Alright, so let's jump right in. The Choice is a lot of ball, as already mentioned. The cover is strong and has an aggressive out-of-the-box dull finish. It wants to chew up the front, so you have to get it into some oil. I think the challenge is I felt like it was pushing me way in to see enough length on the house pattern, but then at the same time just stands up a little too slowly or too quickly. It kind of depends on the way you look at it. But it's trying to turn over, but feels a little slow and a little bit labored to get into a full roll, at least with my hand. I think this ball is simply too big for me for this house condition. I can certainly see the general shape, which is one that can help when there's lots of volume, which means you can play more direct, and then you can see the core turn over and get into a roll. This is a modified 1 core, but honestly the cover is so strong that it's hard to reconcile. To some extent, I felt similarly when we first tested the verdict. I said it just didn't like to be thrown away from the pocket. I think the Choice is somewhat similar. Now you can see next to the verdict how much the verdict gets into a complete turnover and hard roll through the pins, but that's partially due to the cover stock being brought to about 4,000 with a really light touch of polish. It just allows the cover itself to match up better to the condition. My score is what it is simply because I'm hard pressed to understand how often such a large ball will come into play on your typical house shot. For Shaun, even though this is a hybrid, it's so aggressive that it was tricky. Again, he didn't find it to be the type of aggressive where he can open up the angles a ton, as it just burned up so much energy. So he had to still tighten up his angles a bit, and you can see the rumbling, bumbling, stumbling, heavy roll the ball has. It went through the pins nice, but it is a little tricky. In the end, a surface change for Shaun and I would absolutely be needed if we wanted to even think about using the Choice on a house condition. For Bryan, he saw the hook set motion, but one that doesn't have tons of back end. It's like the core stands up, but with a bit more forward roll than angle. The Choice is the kind of ball that generates less entry angle than some big balls, but not totally uncommon for what I call snow tires. Bryan saw a controlled hook set that he was able to take advantage of once he can see where it sets. On the other hand, again, the verdict for him was a more continuous motion rather than that aggressive hook set of the Choice, and it just fundamentally it's due to the cover finish, because ultimately it is the same cover stock. A quick look at our 38-foot sport shot. But really, here's where I felt the Choice shines. With the cleaner backends of a flatter sport shot, the Choice now really makes the backhand move. It's still strong and it requires me to get deep, but now I like the punch and controlled but aggressive transition. It blended the pattern and struck from like 14 to 5 as well as 17 to 8. I mean, that's a really nice wide track on a sport shot. For Bryan, the arcing motion matched up nicely on the flatter pattern, and he can feel the bigger core hit nicely and stronger than some of the weaker cores we tested. Final thoughts. In the end, the Ebonite Choice is a big ball with a large footprint. If you don't show it enough oil in the first 30 feet, the ball may look weaker than it actually is because the core just doesn't bend since it's burned out. The cover is just finished strong. So it really burns up early. However, show it some oil where you can play it more direct, or move it onto the tougher shot and it really begins to shine. Alternatively, you can adjust the surface to make it more usable the way we did to the verdict, and you'll find a pretty good ball. You just have to decide if you want to get it and hold it for when you need something aggressive, or adjust the surface and use it more often. It's really up to you.
I need to tell you the one Tamer Bowling Ball reviews.